staying with us. Time to talk about the SANFL, of course, and one of the great players for the Eagles, no doubt. And I don't throw that word out
You don't.
carelessly, but when you play 224 games, you're a life member last year, and you've played in a couple of premierships, you've come from the Peninsula, and your name is Mathew Goldsworthy. That means you're a pretty good player for the Eagles. Matty, thanks for your time, mate.
G'day, boys. Thanks for having me.
Sorry we don't get you in on better circumstances, mate, coming off the back of a win, but the Eagles have been dominant for a long time. You've been there for a while, mate, so you've had a pretty good run.
Yeah, we have. It was probably the couple of games leading into the bye. We had a couple of nice wins and set up for a big back half of the year. And off the bye, Central's on the weekend probably let ourselves down. They were really good and we were off the ball, to be honest. So big week this week against West Adelaide.
That was a funny one. That was that game because nobody tipped the Dogs to beat you at home. No one would have thought the Centrals would do that. But if you saw the game, they played really, really well.
They've been threatening, though.
And the Eagles were a good side. So, but the Dogs did not look to me to be in any trouble. Like I'm waiting for the Eagles to
come over the top,
ball, pounce back, and it never happened. The Dogs just kept playing, and they played. They played some really good footy. I must admit that because I didn't give them a chance, but they played some good footy against you blokes.
Yeah, they did. They've got the Schiller boys in the midfield, Hoskin down back. All their senior players played really strong games and probably boost the young fellas around them, and they were hard to stop on the weekend.
Jade's been with you a couple of years now. Had some really good success with him, mate. But you guys have traditionally been slow starters and then come on at the end of the year. This is a bit of an unusual season for you guys.
Yeah, it's probably this year we do find that our list and I guess the run of injuries is quite similar to last year. We're probably in a similar position this season, so hopefully we can get some more players back on the park and really build into the back end of the finals.
Who's missing, mate? You got some good players missing.
Well, we actually on the weekend probably had close to our most full list, but unfortunately on the weekend we had big Connor Ballenden go down with an ankle, Clay Cameron a quad in the last quarter, so. Those two boys, Jared Ullman actually played his first game back from soft tissue on the weekend in the reserves, so they're probably some of our key ones that we'd like back on the park.
Hey, Matty, I talk to a lot of players and I watch a lot of the SANFL, and I was in a discussion on the weekend saying how the speed of the game and the impact injuries have changed dramatically just in the last couple of years. You've been around a while now. Have you noticed the dramatic change in the speed of the game?
It's certainly getting faster.
Not because you're getting older, man. 30, you've got plenty of time, mate. But
why don't you just say it?
No. Matty's going all right. But you would have noticed it through that journey, how it's picked up, the pace has picked up.
It is, and obviously it sort of stems from the AFL. Like the AFL are looking for a certain type of player, so that sort of player is what's coming through our pathways and striving to stick it out. If they're not getting drafted, they're the sort of athletic, fast, tall midfielders that you see running around. They're the ones that stick around with us. So. It is getting faster, and unfortunately, I'm probably getting a little bit slower.
Hey, mate, I want to talk about you for a little while. I know you find it hard talking about yourself, but come from the Peninsula, and you had a choice when you first came up. You could have played footy or you could have played cricket. You're playing at West Torrens Cricket Club and doing pretty handy with the bat, is my understanding. And then footy as well. What made you take footy over cricket?
I'm not actually sure why. I think I was doing sort of both, and the travel for trainings was hard work. So we're probably doing 2 trips a week, 4 hours, so 2 hours each way. So it takes its toll, and I think it pretty well progressed. The cricket season finished. I was playing 16s at that stage and doing all right. But then within 6 months, I went from under 17s footy to playing league footy under Ron. So footy kind of picked me a little bit. And looking back, I think I probably made the right decision.
Go back to it, mate?
What's that, sorry?
When you finished playing?
Cricket. Early days, I had a hit back at home with my brother and some mates back there. The last few years, probably focused on keeping the body together for footy season. But maybe when we finish, a little hit back there for us.
He wandered back in 2015, I reckon, and took care of Stansbury's run, didn't you?
Yeah, they were going for... They won 11. They won 11 or 12. I think it was, they were going for 12.
Yep.
And, I think after we won that sort of...
That was the time, was it, mate?
I was happy we finally got one. So they actually won again on this year, so we finally got a couple over.
Okay. Hey, mate, at 17, 2008, your debut. Can you remember the game? Can you recall it?
Yeah, it's funny enough, it was against Sheeds, actually. We played Sturt at Unley. Looking back now, I probably wasn't ready. I was probably about 70 kilos and still at school at that stage, and it was just an awesome experience. I was a mad Crow supporter growing up, and Trent Henschel played and Kent McGregor and these sort of guys, so I was just loving it.
How'd you find that? Because it's the other side for you now. The young players walk in and they see you, and it's kind of got this aura about you. So unless you approach the young fella that comes in, he kind of stands back and goes, "Oh, that's pretty much one of the legends of the footy club." How'd you find it when you walked in and suddenly there is a McGregor and a Henshaw there as a young kid?
Yeah.
Were you the same? It was like, I'll get changed
it was
over
intimidating
here.
for sure. I reckon probably these days the young kids have got a bit more confidence, a bit more swagger about them rolling in. Some days you think I wouldn't have been doing that sort of stuff, but obviously there was a thrill to play with those guys, and also got to play a few games with Bernie Vince, who is from my local club, so I really
I wouldn't put down as a great honour, Bernie Vince. No, he's a good lad. He's a
very
ripper.
good fun,
Yeah.
It's generally a lot of players will say, and I think this as well, that the whole thing, when you do debut, is a blur. That's a blur. It's just, you're getting there and you're getting in the rooms, and a couple of weeks later, you don't remember those things. You don't remember going into the rooms. You don't remember. It's all. That's how I was anyway. And that's not footy, obviously, but it's...
Was it cricket?
Yeah, it's exactly
Was it
how
like
I
that
felt.
for you? Only a bit of a blur?
Yeah, I think so, sure. Even the last 10 years feel like a blur. Like I said, I'm one of the old guys now. Sometimes you forget that.
Yesterday's a blur.
I mean, is it they always talk about the premierships, because obviously that's the big part. That's what we play for. That's the team thing and all that. But there's some memories for you other than the premierships where you go, I've just enjoyed that particular game. Sometimes you just have a game where you play really well. It's a big win. Along the journey for you, there's some that stand out more than others?
We've had some good wins at Woodville, like some close ones. I remember Ethan Haylock kicked a goal with a few seconds to go. Michael Wunke did the same thing. Last year, actually, in Pat Drafita's 200th game, backline, never really kicked 2 or 3 goals in his career. We actually put him forward and he kicked a goal and the boys all got around him. That was pretty special as well.
Hey, mate, the thing that's changed the most in that time is rotations come in. So we don't talk about the bench anymore, because there was that stigma if you started on the bench. That meant you weren't quite good enough to be in the 18. Now with the rotations, the bench really doesn't matter anymore. I watch the game and I see the guys you have to come off on the rotation. There is as much effort to get off the ground as there is to chase a loose ball. I reckon, guys, I don't know how you find it, but because I know you're on a set bit, you got to get out. But that effort to get off always amazes me how much effort is in that to get off the ground.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and it's been capped now. So and the AFL's 90, and I think we're 75 or something like that. So it is a tight structure, and if the ball gets stuck on the other side, and you've got to try and get off, and it impacts the next sort of couple of rotations as well. It's a bit of a mess, but it's just how it is.
Make it you don't see him. You don't see him until it gets over the other side. Me off. Yeah, okay.
They're the players you get frustrated with them ones.
I mean, a tough one before we let you go. I won't ask you how you think you're going to do this year, because obviously you're going to win it, but you've had some good coaches along the way. You touched on Ronnie Fuller, you mentioned him when you first started, and you've had Godsey, now you've got Sheeds, all different styles? Or there's a core in there that's similar?
I think Godsey and Sheeds are quite similar, yeah. They've only had Ron for sort of a year, and that sort of period, he loved playing younger fellas, so I was happy just to be there playing footy, so that was really good, and loved that. And Godsey was the first coach I'd actually ever had for longer than a season through my juniors, just sort of spin through coaches, parents of players and that kind of thing. So Godsey was, my first, and probably we've had Sheeds for a couple now, but really my long-term coach, so really shaped me as a player. So I really enjoyed that time, and Sheeds has been awesome, and obviously the success makes that better as well.
Yeah, well, Mathew Goldsworthy, our special guest, Woodville-West Torrens, they are a team that will be playing in the finals. Keep an eye on them. Appreciate your time, Matty. Stay with us. Still, plenty to come.